of the location, architectural design, and use of the Wenzel Family Plaza located south of 2nd Street, east of Chestnut Avenue, north of 3rd Street, and west of Central Avenue. Jason.
Thank you, Mayor. As part of the Plan Commission's statutory responsibilities there to review any new facilities, public facilities, and their locations as part of that. I thought everyone was here for this. Now you're all leaving. Thanks, guys. So what I wanted to do is just go through the presentation that SEH, our consulting design firm for the project, had put together, and we presented to the Board of Public Works, and then ultimately the Common Council has blessed this project moving forward. It's been a project that's been in the works for about a year or even longer if you go back to when the downtown master plan was being discussed. And it's been very time consuming, but also a lot of fun to work with. And the Economic Development Board has put forth a lot of effort to come up with this. You may have seen some of the initial conceptual plans that were put together that are slightly different than what's here, but the overall general concept still remains the same. The proposed location, you have Chestnuts Avenue to the north with the post office being located up here, 2nd Street, the pedestrian corridor over here, and 3rd Street over here. The back side alleyway where you've got Daily Grind and other businesses located in there. The primary goal of this is a public gathering green space, which does allow for a variety of uses to be incorporated within there. You would have 4 different entrances into the plaza area, primary entrances, but also entrances off of the sides as well. This area here, as shown, has a pergola or an arbor shade structure that was incorporated based upon the public comments that were received. This area here is proposed to be one of the 2 dining areas. The other dining area is located over here. But mainly as you come into the primary entrance here, the Wenzel Family Plaza entrance sign would be located there. It then brings you into the center plaza area here, which does have a water feature, an active water feature. We cannot call it a splash pad, otherwise we got to put a lifeguard out there and everything else. But if you happen to walk through it and get wet, that's your fault. So it'll be an active water feature. We did, on that specific feature, one of the things that we did a lot of discussion around was the quantity of water. And like I said, statute is very specific as it relates to water features and how the public interacts with them, whether it's treated water, it's recycled water or not. If it's recycled, it triggers what is the pool requirements by state statute, which then requires the lifeguard, additional maintenance requirements, and a higher level of care for that. A flow-through system, which is basically the water goes up, it goes down the drain, and off it goes to the wastewater plant, does not require all of those treatment requirements, nor the lifeguard or anything like that. So this would be a flow-through system, which then brings into question the quantity of water and the cost of that water. Over in Wausau, what we learned in speaking with them is that their system is on a timer, but it is on at 10 o'clock in the morning and goes off at 10 o'clock at night. It is a constant flow, and there is no shut-off whatsoever other than that timing mechanism. For this one, what we're looking to incorporate is there would be a pedestal mounted somewhere in this location where someone would physically have to go over, hit that button to activate the nozzles, the spray to go up. They would be on a time for, let's say, 5-10 minutes. After that, it would shut off. Somebody could go back over there and activate it again. But then we're also going to incorporate some timers that restricts it at certain hours as well. So it's not going off at 10 o'clock at night or 2 in the morning or something like that. And also, if it's raining outside, there's no sense for the phone to be activated at that time. So continuing on in this location, we have the large expanse of green space that would be here mainly for a variety of activities, and then the performance stage here. We'll get into some designs there as well. One thing to point out as we'll get into the theme of things here is in this 2 locations is where you'll see later on we'll show some images of an art or seat feature which is bringing in the railroad theme that we have here, and it's the railroad ties that will make up some seating, additional seating in those locations. Parking along the alleyway. Yes, we are reducing the amount of parking based upon what exists in the hard surface area here right now. But we're reducing it by, I want to say, a total of 14 parking stalls. We are adding a couple along Chestnut here, right across from the post office. But we did look at everything from angle parking to head-in parking. And ultimately, the head-in parking, although it may be not the easiest for someone when it's a one-way alley that's southbound to be able to just pull in there and then back out and keep going, the head-in parking gives us the most amount of parking through this layout. If we do angle, I think we were losing maybe another 8 stalls or something like that. So we did carefully consider the amount of parking that would be lost as part of this. So I'll just go through some of these additional ones. Some of the different things, there will be several different benches located within. And keep in mind, these images are just for the purpose of discussion. This is not the final finish that would be used. The benches that would be incorporated into the park, there will be 15 or 16 of those spread throughout. They will be movable, brought in during the winter months, and that they will be the same look as the ones that currently exist downtown. However, they will have backs. We have one donor that stepped up, said they would sponsor all of the benches going in on the condition that they have backs on them, which we thought was a reasonable request, so we'll incorporate that. This is the seating feature, the railroad ties that would be off to the sides. And I say railroad, the theme that the architects brought into this is to incorporate the Hub City theme. So we'll see a number of different things that include railroad tracks, railroad ties, the design of the performance stage. So charging stations will be incorporated into the seating areas or the dining areas. Light fixtures, we're working on something that will incorporate into the downtown, but also still stay with that railroad theme as well. But there's a light fixture. Bike racks will also be included. The trash receptacles, once again, will be similar to what we have downtown. So we'll have those. And we are going with a bistro-style seating for the dining areas. We did spend a little bit of time talking about should those be permanently secured so that nobody's walking off with it? Should we chain them up at night, which then requires somebody to go down there at night, stack them up and all that? Once again, talking to other communities, Wausau specifically had told us that, you know, they've got chairs. These chairs float around. The tables float around. People move them. They pull them together because your group of 2 wants to be a group of 8, you know, and you pull things together. They haven't had any problems with vandalism, with anybody walking off with these. And the chairs and tables seem to find their ways back to where they once were. The only time that they are picked up by their staff is when it's determined that maybe one of the welds broke loose and somebody needs to bring it back to the shop, weld it, they put it right back out there. So we thought that was the best way to incorporate and encourage people to mingle and use the area however they feel necessary. A number of different uses. This image down here is what we're looking at. Those primary walking paths coming in from the corners will then incorporate the railroad track into them. They'll be flush so that they're not a trip hazard or anything, but it's going to look like the railroad coming right into that main plaza area, and also
right to the central.
Right into the central area there. There'll be different segments that will have some colored or stained concrete. Otherwise, we'll just have a standard finish in some areas as well. The corners, right where the planters and that are, where we're coming up to the sidewalk and that, will incorporate the brick pavers that you see into the downtown landscape already, or the streetscape that is there. So we're bringing that to help tie everything together as well, which was the next slide. So I beat myself to the punch. So this is the interactive water feature that is incorporated into the center. This isn't the exact design. Actually, Dan and I just got a revised update. We're still working to do final plan design on this. This plan, I believe, shows 36 nozzles. We've gone back to the sub that's working on the design for this, and I think their latest one they have now brings it down to 18 nozzles, which obviously is helping to address our concerns on quantity. They are also incorporating some light features into that, so as the water sprays up, there's some lighting elements as well. Several different nozzles as far as the jet streams, the sprays, and all of that. This image here on the right is really to show the spray patterns. So you'll have the nozzle, that darker circle is the nozzle, and the blue that surrounds it is the spray, the radius of the spray. Some different images there. We're going to build a mountain in the background like the top one there, apparently. The performance stage then. All of these images will help to bring in the performance stage. And really what the direction we gave to the consultant, and when I say we, the Economic Development Board that really led the charge on this, understanding the space and the type of performances we would foresee going in here, we wanted them to have more of an intimate stage design. If you go over to the 400 block in Wausau, obviously it's a full city block. It's a bigger space. It's a beautiful space. It's a beautiful stage that they have there. But even Wausau themselves said that stage is far too big for the performances that they typically see there. That was designed more for like a symphony to be able to perform on there, which may happen from time to time, but Wednesday music in the park is typically 3 or 4 or maybe a 5-person band up there. And when you put them on such a large stage, it really makes them look out of scale. And it takes away from the intimacy of the performance. So the direction was to incorporate the railroad theme, but also bring in the intimacy of the stage. So the performance stage that they've come up with has kind of the ties incorporated into that, so the railroad theme. We then have the bridge design, the steel designs that you would typically see as well. If you look on the right here, there's a half wall you see here. That is represented here on this. Behind that wall is the ramp. That would allow for ADA compliance, but also for the performers to be able to wheel up their larger equipment and things of that nature. We are working on the acoustical designs as far as being able to plug and play. Joe knows this a lot better than any of us, but they show up with their microphone to be able to plug in and not have to worry about amps and all of that stuff to be brought in. There will be house sound system, house lighting as well, but there will also be pulley systems incorporated into this so that when the larger performances come in, whether it be, say, like a Boogie and the Yo-Yos that's performed at Hubbard City Days, when they bring in their racking system, they just hook up and they pull that thing up. They don't have to do anything else that brings in their own equipment setup or anything like that. The back has also another wall along 3rd Street, and that was done to also help to make sure that the noise from the performances isn't going back towards the Astor. It's pushing the sound forward. So that is correct. This is the 2nd Street dining area, the Arbor design. And as you can see, it's an elevated railroad track that goes up. We would be incorporating some plantings, some vines that would then allow, through growth, to provide more shade in that area. There will be light features that are also incorporated onto the pillars as they go around. And then you would have the bistro-style seating that would be floating around in these areas as well. And that is kind of the overhead view of what it would look like. This is the primary entrance that would be located. Once again, the main entrance for this, for the plaza, will be located at the intersection of 2nd and Chestnut, so at the existing 4-way stop that is there. The Wenzel family has reviewed the plans, has given it their blessing, not just for the entrance here, but for the overall changes that have been incorporated. They're very pleased and very honored to be able to put their name on such an addition to this community. So we thank them especially for their gift, but numerous others that have stepped forward to make their contributions to this project. This is the backside view of that performance stage from 3rd Street. At this time, there is no plans to incorporate anything on the backside of the wall here. Perhaps you'll see the city logo, but at one time, the Economic Development Board for the public campaign did consider putting the names of the donors through the public campaign on that side, but ultimately decided that they want those names to be recognized from within the space, not from outside. And this is really the backside of the space. We want people, as they're walking around enjoying themselves within this space, to be able to really see all of the names and families and individuals that gave to allow this to happen. So the plaques for the public donations, public campaign will be incorporated into those pillars in that arbor design area. And just material boards. So I'll be happy to take any questions, comments, but at this time, we are working to finalize plans with the SEH with a goal of getting out to bid in the coming weeks. This project will be breaking ground sometime in hopefully late June, otherwise early July, and will be completed this year. Programming for the space will not take place until 2018. Obviously, with the grass and all that being planted, the last thing we want is hundreds of people trampling it and have to do it all again in the spring. So, but otherwise, we'll look for Plan Commission's approval.
All right, so the requested action this evening is to review, which we've just done, and approve the location. Please don't change the location. Architectural design and use of the Wenzel Family Plaza located south of 2nd Street. We'll just finish this by saying across from the post office. We all know where it is. Entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Caprillion, second by Wagner. Discussion. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're coming close to actually seeing this come to fruition. And it's something that we've been working 2 years on this. Yeah. We've been working 2 years on this on the Economic Development Board. I'm just thrilled that the planners that SEH, the consultant, brought in on this were very creative, and they found ways of incorporating the Hub City theme into this park. And I think for the first time, the citizens of Marshfield will have a park that actually reflects the Hub City theme and personifies it, I think. And I'm very excited about this. I'm happy the money has been raised. We've got the money in the bank, except for a few dollars, I think. But
there's a couple of pledges coming. There's a couple of pledges still coming, but
yeah, right, okay. But the public, the number of people who have gotten behind this financially and enthusiastically have just been it's just been great. So I'm happy to see it come this far, and just happy to. I'm going to be happy when they start putting shovels in the ground on this thing, which ought to be this summer.
And a couple of notes for those who are newer to the Plan Commission, for those watching at home. This site was originally purchased by the city of Marshfield. It was the former News Herald site. There was another older building in there called the Marshfield Professional Building that sat vacant for many years for sale. The city purchased them recognizing that the property would likely have to be raised, both of them, leveled, contamination reviewed, and then put back on the market, hopefully to sell for commercial development. That was all done with the exception of the last part, the selling for commercial development. We had a couple of proposals, none of which really panned out and made sense. And so this ongoing need for green space in the downtown community gathering area kind of came to the surface and said there's not often we have a chunk of land this size in the downtown to look at for a project like this. And so I can completely agree with Mr. Wagner on this. What started out as an idea ran into some roadblocks. There were some barriers that had to be overcome with challenges to whether or not this was the right thing to do. But based on what I saw here tonight and what we've learned over the last couple of years, I think this is going to be a really nice addition to our downtown. The railroad theme, very subtle, but clearly visible to people as well, and I think that is a nice tie-in as well. So, I mean, just the last thing I think that is important to point out here is that this is a 1.23. What is the number?
Estimates right now are 1.3.
$1.3 million project, of which $200,000 came from the city. $200,000 will come from the Economic Development Board, which receives their funding through the dividends paid by the utility. The rest is coming from private donors. The vast majority of the money that's going to be spent on this park came from people who chose to give their money to this project, which, just like the library, really is a compelling story when you talk about people's investment in their own communities. So hats off to the people in the city of Marshfield who have stepped up and contributed to this, and nice work on the design. I mean, it's fantastic. The only thing I didn't see, and I don't remember what happened, what happens in winter? Do we have any winter use plans for this facility?
We didn't do images, or we didn't do
we
winter
don't need
images,
pictures.
because I
We
think
don't need
everyone
pictures of
was
winter.
everyone was just sick of the cold by the time we were doing this stuff. But you're right, Mayor. The plan still is to incorporate the Center Plaza area as a skating rink during the winter months. What would be required of that is we would have to purchase a membrane, a rubber mat membrane that would go over that area, so that it's not busting up or heaving the concrete, as well as to protect the fountain in that area. But yes, there's definitely plans for the EDB made it perfectly clear from the very beginning that this space needs to be utilized year-round.
Might be an opportunity for a community Christmas tree, holiday tree.
Yes.
Again, in the future as well. Mr. Wood.
Just one,
Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
I've been over at the Astor quite often, and they're just always asking me, when are they going to build it? They're looking forward to it. They said they want someplace to go outside of the building where they can sit down, have lunch in the sun, listen to the music or whatever's going on. But all the people I talk to there are just eagerly awaiting the opening of this park. So
Perseverance will pay off, and the waiting. Other questions? Otherwise, did we get a motion yet? Yes, I
Yeah.
did get a motion on this. Sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Perlian.
I was just going to ask, one thing I've heard from the public is there going to be public Wi-Fi available? I don't know, has that come up at all?
That did come back as some of the public feedback. We did talk about that with the consultant, and ultimately the thought was, right, in order to get the public Wi-Fi and a clear access there, you'd have to have some posts that are higher than the buildings that surround it. So the plan is going to be to approach one of the adjacent property owners to talk about putting the Wi-Fi up on top of their roof there. And one of the adjacent property owners was actually on the fundraising committee for this and has already expressed an interest to help us out with that. So I would say yes, it'll be incorporated, but exactly how and when it'll be available, I'm not entirely certain at this time.
Very cool.
Cool.
Other questions? And I can expect we'll have Joe G performing next year. Whoever he is. We do have a motion, a second, to approve the site, or rather location, architectural design, and use of the Wenzel Family Plaza. There's no further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Nice work.